The storm came without warning. Snow fell like silver knives against the mountainside, slashing at anyone foolish enough to be caught in the open. The air was sharp, cruel, and heavy with ice. Aaron pulled his fur-lined hood tighter, teeth clenching as he tried to shield his face from the freezing wind. His boots crunched through layers of frost, each step sinking deeper than the last. He had been warned never to climb during winter, but the mountain had called to him, and he had answered. Now, it felt like the mountain wanted him dead. Through the blizzard, his eyes caught the faint shimmer of an opening. A hollow in the cliffside. A cave. Relief surged in him like sudden fire. He staggered toward it, half blinded, half frozen, until at last his hands touched solid stone. With a final push of strength, he stumbled inside. The howling of the storm dulled behind him. The silence was heavy, broken only by the dripping of unseen water. His breath came in clouds, each exhale misting in the air. He leaned against the wall, body shaking, grateful to have escaped the storm's fury. Then he saw her. At first, he thought his frozen mind was playing tricks on him. A figure stood deeper inside the cave, framed by faint blue light shining from cracks in the icy walls. She wasn't bundled like him, wasn't wrapped in heavy coats or scarves. Instead, she wore light furs and silver ornaments that caught the glimmer of the ice. Her hair white as frost cascaded over her shoulders, glowing faintly in the dim light. Her eyes were sharp, luminous, like blue fire. She was watching him. For a long, silent moment, neither moved. His heart pounded. She didn't seem surprised to see him, almost as if she had been waiting. "You should not be here," she said softly, her voice smooth and strangely warm in the cold air. "The mountain does not forgive strangers." Aaron swallowed hard, his throat dry despite the melting snow on his face. "The storm. I had no choice." She tilted her head, studying him as though he were an unusual creature washed ashore. Then, slowly, she stepped forward. The faint jingling of her ornaments echoed faintly in the cave. Aaron's breath caught not from fear, but something else. Something deeper. Her presence filled the frozen chamber, like a flame hidden in the heart of ice. She moved with grace, with confidence, and her eyes never left his. "You will not survive the night without warmth," she whispered. The words carried a double meaning, and Aaron felt it. His pulse quickened. The cave was freezing, the air biting at his skin, but the heat rising within him was undeniable. He wasn't sure if it was her beauty, her strange aura, or the wild danger in her tone. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice low. Instead of answering, she closed the distance between them. Her hand, pale and elegant, lifted and brushed lightly across his cheek. The touch was shockingly warm. He froze, breath held, heart racing. Her lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. "That depends," she said. "Do you want to leave this cave, alive?" The way she asked it made his chest tighten. There was danger in her, yes, but also desire, raw and burning beneath the surface. The storm raged outside, but inside the cave, something else stirred. The kind of storm that had nothing to do with snow and wind. Aaron's eyes locked with hers. He could not look away. He did not want to. Aaron's breath came fast, the sound harsh in the silence of the cave. Her hand lingered against his cheek, fingers warm in a way that should have been impossible here. She was like no one he had ever seen before, too beautiful, too strange, too dangerous. He wanted to pull back, to ask questions, to demand answers. But her eyes caught him in place. They glowed faintly, like fire burning deep under ice. You are not of this mountain, she whispered. No, Aaron said quietly, trying to steady his voice. I was climbing. The storm forced me here. Her lips curved slightly, though he could not tell if it was amusement or pity. The storm does not force. The storm chooses. And tonight, it chose to bring you, to me. Aaron shivered, though not from the cold. There was weight in her words, as though she believed every syllable. Who are you? He asked again, more firmly this time. She tilted her head, silver hair slipping forward like strands of ice water. Names are dangerous. But you may call me Sarah. The name slid off her tongue like a secret. Aaron repeated it in his mind, the sound echoing there as though it belonged. Sarah stepped closer, until he could feel her warmth pushing back against the freezing air. It was wrong, unnatural, but irresistible. His instincts screamed that he should step back, yet his body stayed rooted. You are freezing, she said softly, her hand brushing across his jaw, down to his collar. Her touch sent heat racing across his skin. You will not last long. Her fingers tugged at the edge of his heavy cloak. Slowly, carefully, she pulled it open. Aaron swallowed hard, his heart pounding. He should have stopped her. He didn't. The cold air rushed in, but her nearness made him forget it. She slid the cloak from his shoulders, letting it fall onto the icy ground. Beneath, he wore thick wool and leather, damp from melted snow. Sarah's eyes roamed over him, not with curiosity, but with hunger. You are strong, she murmured. The mountain rarely delivers such gifts. Her words sent a flush across his face. I'm not a gift, he managed to say, though his voice trembled. Sarah smiled faintly, stepping even closer. Their bodies nearly touched now, the warmth of her presence intoxicating. No? Then why do you stand here, letting me take what I wish? Aaron's breath caught. He didn't have an answer. He could feel her energy wrapping around him, pulling him in. Every glance, every brush of her fingers, felt deliberate, as though she was weaving a net he could not escape. And perhaps, he didn't want to. The storm outside howled louder, shaking the cave walls. But in here, in this frozen chamber of blue ice, there was only the two of them. Sarah leaned closer, her lips hovering just near his ear. Do you fear me, traveler? She whispered, her breath warm against his skin. Aaron's chest tightened. He did fear her, but it wasn't the kind of fear that made him run. It was the kind that burned, the kind that thrilled. The kind that pulled him closer. Yes, he breathed. But I can't look away. Her smile widened, though he could not see it fully. She drew back just enough to meet his gaze again. Good. Fear keeps the fire alive. And then, without another word, she took his hand. Her skin was soft, almost hot against his frozen fingers. She guided him deeper into the cave, where the walls glowed with trapped crystals of light. The air grew warmer as they walked, though Aaron knew it was her presence that kept the cold at bay. They reached a chamber where the ice ceiling shimmered like glass, reflecting their images in pale light. Sarah stopped, turned, and faced him. This place will decide, she said softly. Whether you survive the night, or are consumed by it. Aaron's heartbeat thundered in his ears. He didn't know if she meant the cave, the storm, or herself. Perhaps all three. But as she stepped closer again, as her fingers slid over his chest and her eyes locked on his with that burning intensity, he knew one truth: he would not resist her. Not tonight. The chamber glowed like a frozen jewel. Light refracted through the ice above, scattering across the walls in soft shades of blue and silver. The air was still, thick with the silence that pressed against Aaron's ears. He stood in the middle of it, his heart pounding so loud he thought the cave itself must hear it. Sarah circled him slowly, her steps soundless on the frozen floor. Her eyes never left him, their glow catching the reflections from the walls. She looked less like a woman and more like some spirit of the mountain, untouchable, powerful, yet dangerously close. "You still do not understand," she said at last, her voice low and even. "This place is not just ice and stone. It is alive. It hungers." Aaron swallowed. "And you?" She stopped in front of him, her lips curving in a small smile. "I am part of it. The storm, the cave, the hunger, they live in me." Her words sent a shiver down his spine. He should have been afraid. He should have been planning escape. Yet when she reached out, sliding her hand over his chest, he leaned into her touch. Her fingers traced the lines of his damp shirt, pressing against the heat of his body. "You are warm," she whispered, almost to herself. "So much warmer than the others." Aaron's breath quickened. "Others?" For a moment, her eyes flickered with something darker, but she didn't answer. Instead, she pressed closer. The thin layer of furs she wore brushed against him, and he felt the contrast of her heat against the icy air around them. He couldn't help it, his hand lifted, hesitating, then rested against her waist. The fabric was soft, but beneath it, her body was firm, strong. Sarah's eyes flashed, and her lips curved again, this time into something sharper. "So the traveler dares to touch," she murmured. Aaron's cheeks burned. I didn't mean," but before he could pull back, her hand caught his wrist. She held it firmly in place against her side, her warmth searing through him. "Do not take back what is already given," she said softly. The words hit him like fire. He realized then that she was leading him deeper, step by step, into something he couldn't escape. And maybe he didn't want to. Her other hand lifted to his chest, sliding upward, over his shoulder, then to the back of his neck. She drew closer, their faces only inches apart. The cave seemed to tighten around them, the air thick, charged. Aaron's breath mingled with hers, warm clouds between them. He wanted to kiss her, he had never wanted anything so strongly. Yet something in her gaze warned him that to take too much would be dangerous. "You burn," she whispered, her lips nearly brushing his. "Like fire beneath snow." Her touch lingered on his neck, then trailed down, slow and deliberate. Aaron's body trembled, caught between desire and fear. The storm outside roared, shaking the walls. But inside, the only storm that mattered was her. Finally, she stepped back slightly, though her fingers still grazed his skin. Her eyes held his with unbreakable intensity. "You must decide," she said. "Will you give yourself to me and to this mountain? Or will you fight it?" Aaron's voice was rough when he answered. "If I give myself, what happens?" Her smile was soft, almost tender, but her words carried weight. "Then the ice will not take you. I will." The heat in his chest spread through his whole body. He no longer felt the cold, no longer remembered the storm, no longer cared about anything but her. Sarah turned, leading him deeper still, toward a ledge where the ice wall glittered like glass. She sat gracefully upon it, the crystals glowing faintly around her, and beckoned him closer. Aaron hesitated only a moment before stepping forward. Her eyes never left his, her hand extended, waiting. When his fingers finally closed around hers, the world outside the cave ceased to exist. There was only Sarah, only the heat in her touch, and the growing desire that promised to consume them both. Aaron's hand closed around hers, and the cave seemed to pulse with life. The icy walls glimmered brighter, reflecting their joined hands in 1,000 scattered fragments. His heart thundered as Sarah's warmth spread through him, chasing away the last traces of cold. She tugged gently, guiding him closer. He stepped between her knees where she sat upon the ledge of crystal. Her body leaned forward, her face inches from his, the glow of the cave painting her in silver fire. "You are still trembling," she murmured, her fingers brushing the damp fabric clinging to his chest. "From the cold, or from me?" Aaron swallowed hard. "From both." Her smile deepened, sly and knowing. "Good. Fear and desire are not so different. Both keep the heart racing." Her hand slid upward, tracing the line of his collarbone, until her palm rested flat against his chest. He knew she could feel the rapid thrum of his heartbeat beneath her touch. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken need. Aaron's hand lifted almost on its own, his fingertips brushing against her waist. He felt the subtle rise and fall of her breathing, the softness of fur and warmth beneath. Sarah didn't stop him. Instead, she leaned in closer, her lips hovering just above his. The cave seemed to hold its breath. Then, at last, she closed the space between them. Her lips were warm, impossibly warm, soft yet fierce, carrying the fire he had felt in her touch. The kiss jolted through him, a rush of heat that made him forget the storm, forget the danger, forget everything but her. His hands tightened against her waist, pulling her closer. Sarah's arms wrapped around his neck, holding him firmly as the kiss deepened. Her hair brushed against his cheek, smelling faintly of frost and wild air. He felt consumed, devoured, yet he didn't resist. He kissed her back with equal hunger, their breaths mingling, the heat between them building like an inferno trapped inside the frozen cave. When she finally pulled back, her eyes glowed brighter than ever. "You burn hotter than any flame," she whispered. "The mountain was right to bring you to me." Her words sent another shiver through him, not of fear, but of anticipation. He wanted more. He needed more. Sarah seemed to sense it. She pressed her forehead to his, her lips brushing against his jaw, then his neck. Each touch set his skin aflame, his body trembling with need. Her hand slid beneath the edges of his damp shirt, exploring the lines of muscle, tracing the heat she seemed to crave. Aaron let out a low breath, his own hands tightening on her, pulling her closer against him. Her body fit against his as though the mountain had carved her from ice just for him. The world outside no longer mattered, only the fire they had sparked here, together. Her lips found his again, fiercer this time, demanding. He answered without hesitation, matching her hunger with his own. The cave echoed with the sound of their breaths, their movements, as though the frozen walls themselves bore witness. When they finally broke apart, both gasping, she cupped his face in her hands. "Do you see now?" she whispered, her voice trembling with intensity. "To survive here, you must give yourself completely. Not halfway. Not with doubt. Only with fire." Aaron met her gaze, his chest heaving. He understood. He might not know what she truly was, or why the storm had led him here, but he knew one thing with certainty: he wanted her, all of her, no matter the cost. His voice was hoarse, but steady. "Then take me. I'm yours." A smile curved her lips, sharp yet tender. She pressed another kiss to his mouth, softer this time, as though sealing his words. And in that moment, The ice cave no longer felt cold. The cave seemed to pulse with life around them, every crystal wall shimmering brighter as their closeness grew. Aaron felt it, the warmth radiating from Sarah, the way her body pressed against his, igniting a fire that no winter storm could extinguish. Sarah's hands traced over him, fingers exploring with deliberate, teasing patience. Every touch was electricity, sending shivers through his limbs, drawing a deep, urgent breath from him. Aaron leaned into her, letting himself melt against her warmth. "You are reckless," Sarah murmured, lips brushing against his ear. "And yet, I do not want you to stop." Her words made his chest tighten, a delicious ache that spread through him. He wanted to say something, to speak, but the moment didn't allow words. It demanded surrender. Aaron pressed forward, capturing her lips again, slow at first, tasting, memorizing, then fiercer as the tension between them ignited. Sarah responded in kind, hands sliding up his back, gripping the edges of his jacket, pulling him closer as though she could fuse their bodies together. The cave air was heavy, charged with warmth and desire, and the faint dripping of melting ice echoed around them like a heartbeat. Every brush of skin against skin sparked new fire, every whispered breath drew them closer to a point of no return. Sarah pulled back slightly, resting her forehead against his, breathing in his scent. "You feel alive," she whispered. "Even here, in the cold, you burn brighter than any flame I have known." Aaron's own hands wandered, tracing the contours of her body, over the soft furs that barely held the heat she radiated. I can't stop," he admitted, his voice rough, trembling with need. "You mustn't," she replied, pressing a kiss against his jawline, down his neck, sending sparks of fire along his skin. "Give yourself. Let the mountain take nothing but the fire we create." Her words wrapped around him, commanding, teasing, and he obeyed. The tension that had been building for hours, that had simmered beneath their touches and glances, broke like a wave crashing over them. Aaron's lips found hers again, devouring, claiming, as if he could draw the warmth from her soul. Sarah's fingers threaded through his hair, tugging gently, guiding him, testing him. Their bodies pressed together, moving as one in an unspoken rhythm that belonged only to them. The icy floor beneath offered little comfort, but in her arms, it felt irrelevant. She made heat from the cold, fire from frost. Time seemed to vanish. The storm outside had no meaning, the world beyond the cave no longer existed. There was only the sensation of her, of their closeness, of the fire that consumed them both. Finally, she pulled back, her breathing shallow, her eyes glimmering like the cave itself. "You are, unlike any I have known," she whispered. "And yet, I want more. More fire, more heat, more of you." Aaron swallowed hard, the ache in his chest deepening. "Then take me, Sarah," he said, his voice hoarse. "Take all of me." Her smile was sharp and tender all at once. She leaned close, brushing her lips against his ear, her breath hot against his skin. "With pleasure," she whispered. And then she pressed against him again, guiding, teasing, igniting the fire further, until every sensation, every nerve, every pulse of heat between them became a consuming blaze. The cave itself seemed to respond, shimmering, glowing, as though the ice was melting in their wake, not from the cold, but from the fire they had unleashed. Aaron's hands roamed her back, memorizing the strength beneath the delicate layers. Sarah's fingers explored him with equal hunger, tracing, teasing, claiming. Every movement built upon the last, a perfect storm of desire that neither wanted to quell. They paused only for breaths, lingering in the closeness, hearts hammering, foreheads pressed together, sharing the unspoken thrill of their intimacy. The cave had become their world, a frozen sanctuary for fire, heat, and longing. Sarah tilted her head, lips brushing his once more. "This night," she whispered, "the mountain has given us fire. And it will not be forgotten." Aaron's fingers tangled in her hair, drawing her impossibly close. "Nor will I," he murmured, voice thick with passion. "Never." And in that frozen chamber, surrounded by ice and the storm beyond, they surrendered fully to desire, to fire, to each other. The fire between them had not dimmed, if anything, it had grown stronger. Aaron pressed against Sarah, feeling her warmth seep into him, chasing away every trace of the cold that had once gripped his bones. But now, beyond the desire, a subtle unease threaded through the air, a whisper of the mountain's hidden power that neither of them could ignore. Sarah leaned back slightly, her fingers trailing along his chest, tracing the rise and fall of his breath. Her eyes, brilliant and unyielding, met his. "There is something you must know," she murmured, her voice soft but urgent. "This cave, it is not just ice. It has a will. It chooses who it grants warmth to and who it consumes." Aaron's pulse quickened, not from her words, but from the way she said them, the way her body pressed against his, radiating heat that contradicted every warning. "Consumes?" he asked, his voice low. "You mean, it could?" "Yes," Sarah interrupted, her lips brushing his ear, warm and commanding. "It could take everything from you. Life, strength, even your soul. But it does not always strike immediately. Sometimes it waits, testing, watching. I can control it, somewhat. But even I am not free of its will." The revelation should have terrified him, yet the fire in his veins flared even brighter. Fear and desire intertwined, and he realized he trusted her implicitly, even with a force he could barely comprehend. "Then we have to be careful," he whispered. "We have to," but she silenced him with a kiss, urgent, claiming, reminding him that caution was useless when desire ruled. Her hand slid under his shirt again, warm against his skin, and Aaron shivered not from the cold, but from the sensation, from the sheer heat she drew from him and returned in kind. Sarah pulled back just enough to rest her forehead against his. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "The cave, the mountain? It reacts to us. To the fire we make." Aaron nodded, breathless. "I feel it. It's alive." "Yes," she breathed, her eyes darkening with intensity. "Alive, and it hungers. But so do we. And together, we can balance it? Or be consumed." Her warning was seductive, dangerous. And yet, it thrilled him. The fire between them was no longer just desire, it was survival, trust, and raw, untamed passion all rolled into one. He pressed his lips to hers again, slow at first, then fierce, answering her hunger with his own. They moved together through the cave, bodies in sync with the pulse of the ice and crystal. Sarah guided him toward a deeper chamber, where the walls shimmered with veins of frost like frozen lightning. The light refracted across their forms, casting shifting shadows that made them appear both intimate and untouchable, like spirits in the mountain itself. Aaron's hands roamed her back, over the delicate furs and the warmth beneath. Sarah's fingers tangled in his hair, her lips tracing his jaw, his neck, every brush of skin igniting him further. The ice seemed to hum around them, resonating with the fire they shared, a silent witness to their connection. Then, abruptly, she pulled back, her eyes glinting with something wild, something ancient. "The mountain tests me," she said, voice low, almost fearful. And it will test you. Do not falter, Aaron. Do not doubt. Your fire must not waver. I won't, he whispered, gripping her closer. I trust you, and this fire. Her lips found his once more, softening, deepening, a promise in every kiss. They moved as one, caught in a rhythm older than the mountain, a dance of heat and desire, fear and trust, danger and surrender. In that frozen chamber, surrounded by walls that could crush or protect, they discovered something neither had expected, that the fire they created together could conquer even the coldest ice, and perhaps even the mountain itself. Sarah's hands lingered on his chest, drawing him closer as she whispered against his lips, "Survive this night with me, and the mountain's power will be ours to command." Aaron's heart hammered, a mixture of fear and unrelenting desire, and he answered with a kiss that promised surrender, trust, and an unbreakable bond between fire and ice. The wind howled outside, battering the mountain with relentless fury. Snow tore across the cliffs, and ice groaned like the cries of ancient spirits. Yet inside the cave, the storm felt distant, almost irrelevant. The fire between Aaron and Sarah blazed brighter than any storm could suppress. Sarah's eyes glimmered, reflecting the crystalline light around them. "It tests us," she murmured, her fingers brushing his cheek. "The mountain, the storm, it wants to see if our fire is strong enough." Aaron held her close, tracing the curve of her back, feeling the warmth beneath her furs. "Then let it test us," he said, voice steady though his heart raced. "We're ready." Her lips curved into a sharp, fleeting smile, and then she pressed forward, capturing his mouth in a kiss that consumed him entirely. Every nerve, every pulse, every breath between them ignited like molten flame. The cave itself seemed to respond. The walls shimmered, ice cracking faintly as though acknowledging their union, their strength, their fire. Sarah's hands roamed over him, and his over her, a dance of touch and heat that left neither able to think beyond the other. Desire, trust, and the raw thrill of danger blended into something intoxicating. It was a fire forged in frost, alive, untamed, and utterly consuming. The cave trembled faintly beneath them, and for a heartbeat, both froze. Sarah's eyes flashed, bright and dangerous. "The mountain senses weakness," she whispered. "Do not falter. Trust in the fire we share." Aaron's hands held her tighter. "I trust you," he said. "I trust us." The words were enough. They moved together again, bodies pressed, hearts synchronized, lips and hands and warmth entwined. Every touch sent a pulse of heat through the icy chamber, and slowly, the storm outside seemed to bend around them, powerless to reach the fire they had created. Sarah leaned into him, lips brushing his neck, whispering low and sultry. "You are stronger than you know. Fire survives even in the coldest ice. And so do we." Aaron's breath came ragged, a mixture of awe, desire, and the thrill of the mountain's challenge. "Then we endure," he whispered, capturing her lips once more. Together. They stayed entwined, riding the surge of passion and warmth, until finally, the tremors of the cave softened, the ice around them settling into a steady glow. It was as if the mountain itself had recognized their fire, their connection, their survival. Sarah pulled back slightly, resting her forehead against his, eyes shimmering with something fierce and tender all at once. "You have passed the test," she whispered. "The mountain does not take those who burn together." Aaron's chest heaved, sweat mixing with the cold clinging to his skin. "Then we are safe?" he asked, still holding her close. "For now," Sarah replied, a hint of playful fire in her tone. But the mountain always watches. Always tests. We must never forget the fire we create. He brushed his lips against hers, soft now, lingering, memorizing. I won't forget, he promised. Never you, never this. The cave, still shimmering with icy light, felt different now, less menacing, more alive. Their fire had tempered it, filled it, made it something that could hold warmth rather than only cold. They had survived. They had conquered it, not just the ice, but the storm, the danger, and the desire that had threatened to overwhelm them. Sarah rested her head on his chest, her hands entwined with his. We survived because we trusted each other, she murmured. Because we let fire meet ice without fear. Aaron tightened his hold, pressing a kiss to her hair. Then we continue, he said. Whatever the mountain sends, whatever the storm brings, together. For a long moment, the two of them stood in silence, hearts still pounding, the echoes of passion mingling with the soft dripping of ice. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but inside, there was warmth, connection, and the undeniable proof that fire, desire, and trust could endure even in the harshest cold. Sarah lifted her head, eyes sparkling, and whispered, "Tonight, the mountain has given us fire. Let us make it ours, always." Aaron smiled, pressing his forehead to hers, letting the warmth of her and the victory of their desire fill him completely. "Always," he agreed. And in the heart of the ice cave, where the storm roared and the mountain watched, they burned brighter than the cold could ever touch, fire and desire entwined, unstoppable, unbroken, eternal.